So today we are going to talk about a book that has to do with cannibalism, and that book is The Lamb by Lucy Rose. I picked this up because I kept seeing it on social media and I was definitely intrigued. Had a picture of a big meat on the cover, so today we're going to talk about a book that is kind of gross, but also is kind of fantastic at the same time. It is deranged and delusional and weird and really well written. I had quite the time inside the pages. So it follows the story of this mother and daughter. The daughter, her name is Margot. The mother is Ruth. They are cannibals. Her mother has been feeding her humans since she was a kid. The first sentence of the book is like, she remembers when she was 4 years old finding a bunch of fingers in the tub drain. So, that's not the exact words, but it's along those lines. So that's what you get immediately upon entering this book. It doesn't shy away from or around the topic. You go like head first into like toes and eating people. So be warned. The way it works, they live in this little cabin in the woods. When people get lost and come to their door, Mama invites them in, gives them wine, and lights a fire, and then she like spikes their beverage with hemlock so that they get all woozy and start to fall asleep. And then the mom murders them and then they eat them. And they store the parts for later in the freezer. And her mother seems to have this insatiable appetite. And basically, they only take what they call strays, like people who are lost, who don't seem to have a whole lot of like ties to the world and whatnot, like, hikers or just people that seem kind of vagabond and whatnot. I don't know. So this is in the mother's brain how she justifies it or whatever. And so I'm reading this and I'm like, how did mom get into eating people? And it just seemed like this was something that came to her at a very young age when she started watching this woman who was a prostitute who would be like out on the corner. And for a long time, she would watch her and see what her habits are. And one day she was like, hey, follow me. This kid is hurt and he needs help. Da 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 da. Well, she takes her over to this area and there's no kid there. And then, so this is the mom's story. And she's really young too. And she takes like a brick or a rock and she hits the lady in the head. And then she does it and like bashes a hole in her skull and then starts tasting her brains. And that was how she became a cannibal. That's kind of weird. She might have had some mental problems there. Just saying. Um, so that's how the mother started eating people. Like, so her daughter now that she has also eats people because that's just the way she was raised. It's meat. So if you were raised to eat humans, you would maybe think it was normal, but maybe not because the thing too, though, is she still goes to school. The kid goes to school. So this could kind of be a liability, but her mama's like, don't make a scene, don't draw attention to yourself. You're not allowed to have friends, da 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 da. And I'm honestly surprised that the mom let her go to school because, like, what if she did say something? But all seems pretty well. And so she's 11, and one day her and mama, they're sleeping, but then there's a knock on the door, and it's a snowstorm. And this woman comes to the door, and this woman's very beautiful. Her name's Eden. And this one, they were gonna eat her, but then Mama at the last minute kind of decides no. She had put down the tea in front of her that had the hemlock, and at the last minute was like, oh, you know what? My daughter makes really horrible tea. Let me throw that out and make you a better tea. And then they end up kind of like falling in love, and Mama shows her her world because another stray comes to the door. Well, and this one's not quite a stray, and this is kind of what starts to make them reckless. This is like a man that Mama used to sleep with on a regular basis who lives kind of in the area, and actually Mama's daughter, Margot, goes to school with the daughter of this man that they end up killing and eating. Just talk about so nonchalantly. Like the whole book is about eating humans, like the whole thing about cooking them up and eating this part with that, and how when Eden comes and Eden gets all into it, like teaching them, hey, let's fry up the fingers with some breadcrumbs and some butter and rosemary and make it all fancy. You have that. And at first, like, I was like, I'm surprised she didn't eat her own daughter. Well, she used her daughter as kind of like a lure, like, oh, hey, look, I'm a woman in this cabin with my daughter. We're weak little women. Nothing bad could happen here. But at some point, this starts to turn as Eden seems to want Mama more and more to herself. And they start to look at Margot as maybe a nuisance or a loose cannon, because at some point at school, she does accidentally start to call attention to herself, or she mentions the fact that Abby misses her dad, the one that they ate, that she ate. That's awkward. Like trying to be friends with someone whose dad you ate. How do you like play that off all nonchalant? I guess if you're the kid, she's kind of used to like this, so she's just like, whatever, I didn't eat your dad. I don't even know what you're talking about. But anyway, Eden. Eden is bad news bears because she's turning the mother against the daughter and starts whispering in her ear, possibly that maybe they should eat the daughter. So what's going to happen? I mean, this book is called The Lamb. So something might happen. Do they get caught for their cannibalism? Does the daughter spill the beans? Do people die? I mean, outside of the ones who are being eaten. I guess you'll have to read the book to find out. And it's very disturbing. It's really well written. I really enjoyed my time in the pages, even though it was like, it's super roughed up. If you like horror, if you're not averse to stories of like cannibalism, oh man, I don't even know. It's quite the voracious, disturbing, kind of heartbreaking, and really a bit sad and emotional. Because too, like this little girl, she didn't really have any friends. She had the one girl that she was starting to be friends with, Abby, who was like I said, the daughter of the guy that they ate. That part was sad. And then, this bus driver too was like kind of her friend because he would drive her home and he'd kind of hint like, hey, if there's ever anything wrong at home, you can talk to me or you can tell some of the adults at the school. Because sometimes, she'd go and she'd have like marks on her and whatnot, or what her mom called special kisses. So, like when her mom would hit her or smack her around and leave bruises, or. So, the bus driver kind of had an idea of stuff that was going on. And yeah, it is a really disturbing read. When something is this disturbing, I'm not going to say I highly recommend it. I enjoyed it. If you like effed up, disturbing books, you might enjoy it too. So, if it sounds like it's for you, The Lamb by Lucy Rose, check it out. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.